Welcome back. It's a windy day and fall day, and we're ready to jump right in. Anything that I say that's related to curing someone or anything, just take it with a grain of salt, check with your doctor before implementing any of this information. And let's just dive in because there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions. So I want to try to get as many answered as possible.
Yep, and from all over the world. Good morning, everybody. Let's go to Jameson from YouTube. I have a lipoma the size of a couple marbles on the middle of my arm near my elbow. Can you suggest a way to get rid of it or reduce it without going the surgery routine?
Lipomas are kind of benign, fatty mass. Honestly, I've not found anything that will touch it other than outpatient therapy. I think they can even numb it and just take it out because I have not found anything to dissolve it. So maybe there is something out there, but I have not figured that out. Sorry.
All right, very good. Well, good luck with that. And since it's benign, well, I guess you can just roll with it. Gabrielle, from Rumble. Will a whole food-based multivitamin work for someone who can't consume plants because it messes up their whole digestive system? And Gabriella says, thank you in advance.
Yes, because you're not getting a lot of fiber in that concentrate. It's usually concentrated. So we're not going to get much fiber at all. And so, yeah, you can do that just fine.
Okay, let's see. How about ZZ from YouTube? What's your take on the IGF growth hormone? Will it increase, let's see, if we are eating meat regularly? What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, you want it to increase. Now, there's a whole bunch of information related to cancer. That's a completely different thing. Okay, we're not talking about if someone has cancer, but if you don't have cancer, you want to increase IGF. Number one, it's like an extension off of growth hormone. So whatever growth hormone does, that will do, and the liver makes it. And so it helps you with fat burning, it helps you with weight loss, it helps you with supporting in the muscle. So yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
All right, Natalia from YouTube. What food and supplements would you suggest for a glaucoma? Or for glaucoma, not a glaucoma.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
There's a great book on this by a German doctor who had the book translated. It's kind of hard to find. I can't remember the name of it, but I should probably do a video on it. But he uses high doses of vitamin D3 for glaucoma, and he gets really good results. So if you do a search on maybe Amazon under books, search glaucoma, high vitamin D. He basically gets your vitamin D levels like 90 nanograms per milliliter up to 100, even more, to help people with glaucoma and many other eye-related issues, including problems with the lens itself. It's a fascinating book. There's a lot there, and I'm still kind of rereading it because I have a problem with close vision because I read all day long. So I know there's a problem with the lens. And there's apparently a contact lens that you can wear just at night, and it helps you see during the day. But you want to make sure before you use that, you keep your vitamin D levels up. So you're really you're creating a remodeling effect of your lens. And it's just really interesting. I'm not thoroughly through that information, but I'm going to be doing a video eventually on it once I wrap my wits around it, and maybe even try to interview him as well.
Boy, that's very hopeful. Sonny from YouTube, can spirulina be taken every day as a vegan protein substitute for a person with Hashimoto's?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Okay, Sonny, there you go. Pamela from YouTube, would drinking warm or hot water with ginger help with inflammation?
It does have anti-inflammatory properties, but just realize that it may or may not work depending on what's going on with your diet. And so you really need to make sure your diet is good as well.
All right, Pamela, take care of your diet. Savannah from YouTube, please talk about hormone replacement therapy. All you find on the internet is how great it is, and that makes me super suspicious about it. What are your thoughts about testosterone?
I don't personally like it, and the reason is because it basically inactivates the gland that makes that hormone. So you're going to create atrophy of whatever gland that makes it, whether it's the thyroid or the testicle or ovary, whatever. So you're inactivating the body. I mean, just take a look at what happens when people take cortisol to their adrenals. It just, now the adrenals don't have to produce. So then you are dependent on that hormone. So hormones are communications between a gland and the tissue. So why not find the reason why the hormones are down in the first place? Because it's kind of like, oh, you need to take testosterone therapy. Okay. Why? Because you have low testosterone. Oh, okay. Why is that? Well, we don't really know. It just comes with age. Well, are you sure that's the diagnosis? There's, it could be low on zinc. It could be other problems. So I'm really interested. It could be like you have you're on a statin and you don't have enough cholesterol to make these hormones, or you have the cofactor that's missing to convert cholesterol to these steroid hormones, which is zinc and magnesium. So there's all these other things you can do other than to take the hormone, and it comes with the package, side effects.
All right, buyer beware. Let's see. Dina from YouTube, please share your thoughts on allulose as a healthy sweetener. Did I say that right? Allulose, a healthy sweetener choice.
I like it. It's not actually classified as a sugar alcohol, but it is an alternative sweetener. I do like it. It has some really cool benefits. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a video on it. If I don't, I'll have to do one.
All right, stand by for that. Isabella from Facebook, my hands start swelling at night. Ouch. What can I do to stop this?
There's many different reasons for your hand swelling. I mean, what did you eat right before you went to bed? What's your diet like? Do you have other issues? It's like, I really need more information. Is the feet swelling? If the hands and feet are swelling, that could be any number of things. Too many carbohydrates, high levels of sugar, low vitamin B1, which gives you edema. So there's low potassium, high sodium will do it too. So I need more data to be able to figure that out.
All right, here's one from Rumble. Crazy Pollock from Rumble. Have you ever heard of urotherapy? What do you think of it?
I don't have enough experience to even give you an opinion on that. So sorry.
Okay, I guess that's the consumption of human urine. Is what he's saying there? Is that right?
Is that what urotherapy is? I didn't even.
Yeah, well, apparently, I think that's been around for. I used to hear some
Maybe you
medieval
should.
kings doing it. So
Maybe Steve, you should give your opinion since you do it on a regular basis.
Okay, let me get right on that. Let's see here. Let's get rid of that. So urotherapy indeed. Dow Steen. What are these names? Are hilarious from YouTube. When the liver makes glucose, does it also trigger insulin to lower our blood sugars? I guess that's a good question.
Typically, what happens when the blood sugars are low, your body will then make glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis. And then that can actually raise the blood glucose, which can then trigger the insulin as well. But usually in that situation, the person's making too much sugar and they're a diabetic and have insulin resistance. So this is why the whole, I guess, the rheostat or the sensing feedback loops are messed up. So the body just keeps making more and more sugar because it's sensing there's not enough insulin, because insulin inhibits the production of glucose. So there's usually a messed up whole thing with that. So yes, you're going to get more insulin being produced from that. But there's more to that problem. I mean, it's like you have to fix insulin resistance. And the way you do that is to stop triggering insulin, which means cut down the carbs, don't eat as frequently. Berberine is a good remedy, apple cider vinegar, and especially vitamin D3.
All right, there you have it. Let's see. Ahmed from Facebook, what are your thoughts on smoked foods, particularly meats? Are they good for us or not?
Yeah, I heard some bad things about that. I don't eat a lot of smoked foods. There's a problem with, I don't know if the chemical is called acrylamide or another chemical, but when you create smoke, yeah, it's natural, but there comes with some issues. especially how they smoke it, what's involved. If you're buying something smoked at the grocery store, is it smoke flavoring? Is it actual smoke? Do you know the process? Yeah, I probably stay away from smoked anything unless you smoke it yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm
All
talking
right.
about smoking meat and things like that.
All right, Ahmed, you better research into that. Good luck with that. Okay, and good luck to Ahmed and also people all over the world who are joining us today from the UK, Mexico, Canada, Iceland, Australia, Jordan, Albania, Morocco, the Virgin Islands, Colombia, Bahrain, South Africa, Armenia, Denmark, Ukraine, Japan, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Italy, Trinidad and Tobago, Brunei, New Zealand, Aruba, Pakistan, France, Greece, Ireland, Barbados, Ethiopia, Ghana, Eritrea, Tanzania, India, Kenya, Germany, Nepal, China, Peru, the Bahamas, Kazakhstan, Finland, Puerto Rico, Egypt, Norway, Botswana, the Philippines, Belgium, Nepal, South Korea, Spain, Chile, the Czech Republic, Austria, Romania, Syria. Good grief, they're all here. Algeria, Ecuador. Haven't heard from them for a while. Nor Uganda, Malta, Scotland, Jamaica, Iraq, El Salvador, Indonesia, Uruguay, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Wales, Mallorca, is that right, Terry? He's going to beat me up for not saying that right. Bolivia, Cameroon, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Switzerland, and all across these United States. Boy, I think that's our record breaker, and that's so wonderful that people of every ilk join together in the pursuit of health with Dr. Berg's great recommendations. So thanks, everybody, for chiming in today, as you always are known to do. And let's move on today with our first exciting question. And Dr. Berg, there you go.
True or false? There is no significant difference between the synthetic versus the natural vitamin B1.
What do you think, audience? Well, know you have an opinion, as always. Let's go back to, of course, social media. Lisa Marie from Facebook this time. What are your recommendations to reverse cirrhosis of the liver? Ouch.
That's advanced scarring, probably because of years of creating inflammation. And so there's a couple remedies in addition to going on a healthy version of the ketogenic diet and doing intermittent fasting, because that will create autophagy, which is a condition where your body's going to take all that old protein scarring and help to recycle that. But also there is some data that shows that taking tocotrienols, that's a type of vitamin E, is really good for fibrosis of any sort, including cirrhosis, which is advanced fibrosis. So, you want to keep your inflammation low. You want to eat healthy. Unfortunately, when you have cirrhosis, wherever that is in the liver, now that liver can't work like it should. So now we're dealing with minimal function. Thank goodness you have a lot of extra liver to survive on, because you only need like 20 to 30% of it to function. But find out through my videos what triggered it, and then avoid that, because there's a lot of different triggers.
Okay, well, you thought we named them all, but guess what? We just got a shout out to other viewers in Turkey, Lithuania, Bangladesh, Russia, and Hong Kong. So thanks for joining in as well. Blaylocker from Rumble, is your stomach acid strong enough to kill pathogens? That's a good question. How do the probiotics survive all the way through the intestines?
Yeah, your stomach is acid and it does kill pathogens. It's strong enough. If it is strong enough, some people see as we age, we lose that acidity, and then the microbes kind of travel through, especially if someone's taking antacids. But do certain probiotics survive the stomach? Yes, there are certain probiotics, even the one that I have. Of course, I'm not biased, but that does survive the stomach. But a lot of them don't. So you really want to get a product that survives the stomach. There are certain types of microbes that are just so interesting. They're called extremophils. They've adapted to their environments. So some actually can live in high heat near volcanoes. Some can withstand pressure. They live at the bottom of the sea. Some can withstand salt. They live in the Dead Sea. Some actually live with oxygen, without oxygen. Some live on metals like sulfur. Some live on waste, um, and some even live in the severe cold below zero. So it's fascinating how these microbes have adapted, and that's one of the reasons why they can get through the stomach acid, because they can buffer that. But I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more in a video that I'll release in maybe 2 weeks from now, which has a lot to do with the gut microbes, and it's a fascinating topic. So stay tuned for more on that.
Okay, can you remind us, Doc, of the relation between prebiotics and probiotics? I'm always confused about that.
So the probiotics are the actual microbes themselves, and people take probiotics to try to reseed the microbes that they lost through poor diet and antibiotics, things like that. And then the problem is sometimes some of these microbes don't actually reseed. Like a lot of the microbes in like sauerkraut and things, they're not necessarily reseeding your gut, but they create the environment that the gut needs to then cause the microbe to grow that's already in there. A lot of these microbes, even if you have an antibiotic, go into a protection mode, into a spore dormant state, and waiting for the right environment. So to have a good, healthy, diversified microbiome, you also need the right environment. It has to be the right pH. It has to be, give it the right food. And so then prebiotics, um, usually you're going to use certain types of fiber to feed them, because that's one of the foods that they eat. But some microbes can adapt and be completely happy on meat and protein. So it's not just fiber, but they have the amazing ability to digest things that we can't, especially fibers. And whereas we might have, I think humans have like 17 digestive enzymes, these microbes have 60. So they have more capacity to break stuff down that we can't. So it's important to maybe sometimes even eat for your microbes, to kind of make sure you give them food that they need. So that would be a prebiotic.
All right. Well, thanks for that explanation. The audience has chimed in on quiz question number 1, which asked, was it true falser? There is no significant difference between synthetic versus natural B1, and 92% say that ain't true, and 8% are holding out for true.
If you look this up in the medical literature, they'll say there's no difference. Vitamin B is the same molecule as natural, but it's not, because they synthesize synthetic B, which is thiamine mononitrate, or I think it's thiamine hypochlorite or chlorate, and they basically make it out of petroleum. And it needs to be something. It needs something to help it absorb. It's called active transport. Whereas the natural one, it's called allethiamine, doesn't need that. So, in other words, you don't need near as much when you do the natural version. Plus, the natural version that I always recommend is the one that it's fat soluble, and so it penetrates the blood-brain barrier. I mean, think about how many problems we have with the B1 deficiency with our brains: autonomic nervous system, frontal cortex, brainstem, hippocampus, like all these different things. And so the regular synthetics don't penetrate it too well. So you might get some benefits of certain things, but not others. Now, then the question is, what about this other B that I talk about, which is benfotiamine? That's also fat soluble, and that's mainly for diabetics that have peripheral neuropathy on the bottom of the feet. Even though it's fat soluble, somehow it does not penetrate the brain. So it's good for everything related to a diabetic, but then the natural kind of works on everything, and it's even more than the things that the other two don't. So that would be the difference. There is a difference. They're not the same.
Wow, fascinating. Beth from YouTube, is vitamin D bad for someone with kidney disease?
Here's the problem. In order for you to convert vitamin D to the active form of vitamin D that we need the kidney. So if you have kidney damage, guess what? You're not going to get the active form being activated. So you're going to be very, very deficient, even if your blood is normal, because what they're testing in the blood is the inactive version. So you want to check with your doc to see if you can take vitamin D or a version of it that's maybe more of the activated version, because then if you take the inactive version, it doesn't work because your kidneys don't work. So what are you going to do? So I think there's a different type of vitamin D that you could take that people with kidney problems can take. But that's a really good question because, boy, if you have a kidney problem, you're going to be so low on vitamin D, it's going to be crazy. And this is why people with kidney problems develop osteoporosis too.
Wow. Well, good luck with that. Robbie from Facebook, what are the best supplements to achieve Candida balance?
Um, Candida is in the family of yeast and fungus. And the problem with the Candida, it's an overgrowth that occurs because somehow you destroyed the bacteria that's supposed to keep that guy in check. So then what it does is it starts to sometimes invade the small intestine. And now you get either small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but it's mainly going to be small intestinal fungal overgrowth, okay, because of this Candida. And so Dr. Um, William Davis has a great book, Super Gut, that talks about growing your own probiotics with a couple different strains of microbes in actual half and half, organic half and half, because you don't want to do it raw milk because there's too many microbes. We want to have a very specific microbe that has the ability to go into the small intestine and release natural antibiotics that don't bother your good bacteria. And also antifungal properties as well. So it's a really good, this program that he has is really good to kind of clean out the small intestine and get things corrected. Now, a lot of people that have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or fungal growth have a lot of skin problems. And so when they take an antibiotic, wow, they feel better, the skin's better. Then it comes back worse because you are destroying some of the bacteria. But it'd be much better to seed the small intestine because certain microbes live there to then get control and fix that whole problem in the small intestine and get rid of the pathogens to the point where your skin can clear up. But that's in his book called Super Gut. Fascinating. I will be talking more about that in a video coming up.
Wow, so much to all that. Okay,
Oh,
why don't
one last point. Candida live on sugar and refined carbs. So if you just cut that out, you're going to starve them off. So that's one quick way to get rid of your candida and fungal infection.
all right, let's get on it. Let's also toss another question out to the audience, and there it is.
Okay. What can increase the risk of a heart attack by 2,000% within 24 hours?
Boy, I wish you'd answer that now. That's scary. Okay, why don't we go to our guest room? In the green room, we have Luna, and she has been patiently waiting from Placentia, California. And Luna, you're on with Dr. Berg. Go ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Berg. Thank you for taking my question. So I'm scheduled for my first ever surgery on Monday, and it's for a meniscus repair. I've been reading a lot about the benefits of fasting, so I've been implementing intermittent fasting as well as more prolonged fasting. I know you yourself recommend fasting before and after surgery for improved chances of recovery. So my question is, how soon following my surgery should I wait before taking my first meal?
So, yeah, because the last thing you want to do is consume what they're going to feed you in the hospital, because that's just going to take your blood sugars and just crash and burn them. So the question is that have you ever done fasting before?
To a certain extent, I've done more of juice cleansing. That's been the extent of my
Mhm.
fasting. So I'm usually following like a 5 day regimen of that. As far as the prolonged fasting, I'd started with just doing water and then kind of doing the keto impacts of the coffee and things like that during that fasting window. But
Mhm.
as far as any kind
Okay.
of dry fasting, I haven't implemented that.
Okay. Yeah, and and I probably don't recommend doing a dry fast until you work up to it and do the water fasting for a period of time. But I'd fast the day before, and of course do the surgery, and maybe a day after, and that would be great if you could do that. And then start to as far as the regular maybe collagen supplement would be good because what we just want to, like 30% of all your protein is collagen. We want to make sure that knee has all the collagen it needs to support it. And of course, I think they'll probably also recommend immediate some type of therapy to keep it moving, right? Because with the knee, they don't want to immobilize it. You want to keep it moving and doing motion as much as possible right after the surgery. And I think also good trace minerals would provide the collagen, the mineralization it'll take to kind of heal up both the cartilage, the ligament, and the tendons around that knee. And then last point, there's some great data that I highly recommend to do backward walking to help reverse the flow and strengthen the knee and because a lot of times we walk forward, we don't balance out the muscles, but walking backwards would be really, really great. And I'm guessing you've probably been limping a little bit on the bad knee for a while.
That's correct.
Is it the
Yeah,
right
it's
knee that
definitely
you
been
bothered or the left?
limiting. Correct, my right knee.
So after the surgery, what we want to do is we want to really maintain that symmetrical gait. So you might want to have someone that does type of therapy or massage therapist to work on the opposite leg around the upper muscles, the proximal muscles on your thigh. So that would be the quad, that would be outside the muscles called the tensor fascia lata. And you really work out, massage those muscles. And that way you'll kind of balance out the muscles because you're, a period of time of kind of limping and all of a sudden you have surgery, but now that gait is still altered a little bit. So it's really important to keep the symmetry there. And I think that would be awesome if you did that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Great call, Luna. Thanks a lot. Good luck with that surgery. Let's see. Let's move on to more of our friends on social media. And let's see. That's coming from Terry. I'm stalling to bring that page back up. Beverly from Facebook. Would any of the B vitamins help reduce hand tremors?
Yeah. The big one is going to be B1 because B1 is everything to do with nerve support and myelin. Now, B12 is another one, but B1 is also important too. And so if someone is very deficient in B1, their nervous system really kind of takes a nosedive downward and they can develop not just nerve problems peripherally, but also in the brain, and that can affect tremors.
All right. Let's see. How about JJ from Facebook? What is the best food source for tocotrienols? Oh, for tocotrienols, excuse me.
Yeah, that's a good question. What food has tocotrienols in it? I know there's one would be palm oil, red palm oil, but I mean, people don't normally consume that. There's a couple other sources, but it's not. I don't know what other foods are really high in that, so I just have to look that up. But I know there's a couple plants that have that's how they extract it. But other than that, I couldn't help you out on that question.
All right. Well, we're all on pins and needles to find out what in the world can increase our rate of a risk of a heart attack by 2,000% within 24 hours. The audience has some opinions. 25% say anxiety or stress. 15% say it's intense exercise. 15% say it's carbs. 15% say excess calcium. 15% say excess sugar. And Terry, thanks for all this formulation. And 10% say it's excess salt. And there's another one. 5% say vaccines. Thank you, Terry, for all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a study done, and this is the worst stress that someone can go through. It's basically a loss of a significant person. And another term for this is called broken heart syndrome. Creates so much stress on a person that literally they found that the risk of dying from a heart attack within 24 hours is roughly it's over 21, I think it's 21.1 times, which is over 2,000%. So, and then within the first week, I think the increased risk is it drops down to I think 600%. So in other words, tremendous stress on the heart. So what's interesting about this topic is in my practice, almost every person who came in with an autoimmune, of course, this was back, I guess 10 years ago, I think. Every person that came in with an autoimmune disease or a severe viral infection back then, I asked them about the losses, and boy, a good percent of the time, yes, they had a loss of a loved one, and bam, they developed some other problem, and that has to do with what the shock of the immune system shuts down, and then all of a sudden things just, viruses come out of, remission, or it just shuts down your defenses, but then also it shocks the heart as well. So, this is why, um, you know, there's so many important things that you should do to kind of, strengthen your fitness reserve up. So when a shock does come towards you, you can deal with it better. So many people are kind of fragile, but there's what's called a fitness reserve, and you want to work on that over time and build it up to the point where you have this extra buffer. If something happens, you can survive fine.
Wow, broken heart's a real thing. Nancy from Facebook, what advice would you give a 34-year-old man who's been battling rheumatoid arthritis for years? He tried a raw diet for 3 months, but his symptoms only got worse. Help. Oh, that's awful. Young guy with that.
I know what I would do. It's an autoimmune disease. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune, and I would get my vitamin D levels very, very high. I would start taking maybe 50, 60,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every day with magnesium and zinc. And then I would, and K2. And what I would do is I would consume high potassium foods as well. That also is good for rheumatoid. But what's going to happen is that vitamin D level is going to then reduce your inflammation. So even though you might still have rheumatoid, the inflammation's not there. So you virtually just don't feel it anymore. So that's what I would do. Of course, get on low carb as well, but periodic prolonged fasting would be helpful too. But I think the vitamin D is going to create the biggest bang for your buck.
All right. Hope that works. All right. How about quiz question number 3? There you go.
Why would the side effect of depression occur after taking antibiotics?
That's interesting. All right, audience, if you would please jump on that, that would be great. Michelle from Facebook, what's your recommendation for the daily dosage of vitamin B1? She's not claiming any sort of issue, but just, I guess, in general. How much B1?
The RDAs say that you only need like 1.4 milligrams, which is a joke. So I would take probably at least 50 milligrams a day of vitamin B1. Now realize the more sugar and carbs that you eat, Steve, the more B1 you're going to need. So this you can get your B1 from nutritional yeast in a tablet or a powder, or just take the B1. But the point is that your B1 requirements are dependent on how much carbohydrate you consume. Because the more you need more B1 to use that carbohydrate. And if you don't have the B1, then it either gets stored as fat, or it gets it sits as lactic acid. And then you get restless leg syndrome and air hunger and all sorts of problems with your nervous system. But other than that, you could be perfectly fine.
All right. Well, I just pushed my Lucky Charms to the side, so keep that out of the way. Okay, good. VTX 1300 from Rumble. Does cheese from raw milk contain plenty of probiotics and enzymes?
Yeah, it sure does. That's why I have raw milk cheese every single day. It's really good for the gut. It's a definite biotic, and yeah, it does. And it has a lot of enzymes and very low. If you get the raw cheese, it's in America, it's going to have to be aged for I think 2 months, but it could be 1 month. I'm not sure, but So basically, there's going to be very tiny amounts of lactose in there, milk sugar. So if someone has a lactose intolerance or they're allergic to something, well, the allergy is going to be more of a casein allergy, which could be a problem. But I find that if you have cheese from cows that produce A2 milk, it's even better. But yeah, get a high quality. And of course, if you live in Europe, you're going to be in a much better shape because I think most of their cheese is raw, which is awesome. I overdo it with their cheese. But yeah, I highly recommend it.
All right. That's terrific. Let's see. With obesity on a horrible rise in the West, this is probably an oft-asked question. Grace from YouTube, please discuss proper nutrition after getting a gastric sleeve, and she thanks you.
You're going to be deficient in certain things now because it's harder to assimilate. So you're going to have to make sure that you take more vitamins and probably some in liquid form, like even the vitamin D and magnesium and trace minerals for sure. And you wouldn't want to take the synthetic B1, you want to take the natural because now that they remove part of your digestive system, it's going to be even more difficult to penetrate and be absorbed. And this is why anything related to the gut, whether it's inflammation, surgery, or whatever, or leaky gut, now we're going to have a lot of other issues with absorbing nutrients. So yeah, you're going to have to do that. You might even need bile salts. So really kind of see how your body responds to that surgery. But I definitely trace minerals and electrolytes and vitamin D are going to be a minimum that you're going to need.
All right, some really interesting questions today, as always, and this one fits that bill. Why would the side effect of depression occur after taking antibiotics? And our audience, 75% say it affects our gut health, which influences our mood. 20% say antibiotics kill or decrease magnesium levels, which can affect brain health. And 5% say it's antibiotics created by a chemical imbalance. That's a very lofty set of answers.
If you take collectively the microbiome, all the microbes in your gut, and we compare that to your own cells, you have a lot more of the microbes. You have a lot more of the genes. You have collectively 3 million genes versus only 20,000 human genes. So what does all that mean? It means that the microbiome can do a tremendous amount for your body. And one thing, it can help you with the immune system, helps you with digestion, especially even making vitamins, and helping you with making neurotransmitters. And so people don't realize that like 90% of your serotonin is involved with the gut microbiome, 90% of it. So all these neurotransmitters, GABA, dopamine, serotonin, are highly influenced by the gut. And so if there's a problem there, now you're going to have issues with mood issues up here and depression and things like that. So yeah, when you do an antibiotic, you just wipe out your ability to make neurotransmitters. And then now you just created another problem for yourself.
Well, trying to do the right thing and look what happens. Karen from YouTube, my calcium levels are high in my blood. How can I get it down? I've cut out all calcium, but it's not doing much according to her blood tests.
There's the mineral magnesium is the regulator of calcium. I would imagine you're very, very low with magnesium, but then I guarantee you probably haven't had it tested because you can't really test it too easily. You can't test it in the blood because 99% of it is not in the blood, only 1%, like most of it's inside the cell. So you'd have to do a biopsy, which is, you don't want to do that. There's another test you can do. It involves a lot of complex different things. So I would just start taking magnesium. I would probably take 900 milligrams per day spread out of magnesium glycinate because that absorbs by 80%. Make sure it's with vitamin D. And then also you need vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 also pulls calcium out of the blood. So that's what I would do. Here's the other thing. If there is calcium in the calcium is tightly controlled. Your body wants to make sure it has enough, but not too much. Um, get your parathyroid checked because the parathyroid also releases calcium from the bone. So you want to make sure that it's normal. If it's high, then you need to kind of get your docs to kind of evaluate why it's high and why is it mobilizing all this calcium from the bone. Um, yeah, that's something I would definitely get on because you don't want high levels of calcium in the blood for too long.
All right. Karen, hope that gives you some good directions. Shizzy, I think at the pronunciation, from Rumble, I found intermittent fasting and stopping eating at least 4 hours before going to bed has stopped my nighttime teeth grinding. Any idea why that positive effect has happened?
So can you say the first part of that? Somehow
Sure. I found that intermittent fasting and stopping eating at least 4 hours before going to
that's
bed has stopped my nighttime teeth grinding.
Yeah, well, when you do higher carbs and you have insulin resistance, your sympathetic nervous system goes up. And so now you're in this flight or fight mode. So when you go to sleep, it's like your body's just kind of stressed out. Um, so yeah, you're basically, this tells me that you probably had insulin resistance in which you're now correcting, which is directly related to that problem. So that's awesome.
Wow, I just got another one that popped up here. It said a couple tries to sell their baby for $1,000 to buy beer, and I realized that wasn't from Terry. It was a pop-up, so I'm going to ignore that and go on to the next question. Kathy from YouTube, what health suggestions would you offer women who had a radical hysterectomy?
What I would do is there's a product from Standard Process. I'm not affiliated with them anymore, but they sell a product called Utrophin PMG. You want to take that. And then my question is, did they do a hysterectomy because of a fibroid or endometriosis? The answer is yes. Then that tells me you're very deficient in vitamin D3. So even though they took out those things, it doesn't solve the real problem because you can shrink fibroids and endometriosis with high levels of vitamin D3. So I would take, I would, if that's why they took it out, I would start taking vitamin D3 and also that Utrophin PMG product. Just take one before bed with the Utrophin.
All right, very good. Here's quiz question number 4 for you, Doc, and for the
Okay.
audience.
Why do yeast or candida infections occur after taking antibiotics?
All right, climb on that, audience. R-Dash from YouTube, I'm 30 with peripheral neuropathy. My artery test indicates I have the arteries of a 56-year-old guy. How can I reverse or reduce this arterial age? Is it even possible?
So the doctor says you have arteries of a 50-year-old, but you're actually 94 years old? No, I'm just kidding. No, that's pretty good. No, what I would do is I would, obviously there's been some chronic inflammation going on in the arteries. And of course, you need to get your diet changed right off the bat. I would probably guarantee that your carbs are too high. So go on a low carb and also start taking things to help heal the inside of that artery. For example, tocotrienols would be at the top of the list. Vitamin D, very important. Magnesium, very important. That will soften up the arteries. But I don't know what other bad habits you have. Are you a smoker? Do you drink alcohol? Because all those things will also kind of keep the arteries really inflamed. But I do think you can help the arteries considerably. But it gets to a point where it's beyond the limitations of matter, and now you can't fix it. But at least you can reduce the complications because you can develop that from high levels of sugar as well. And then what happens is that the calcium comes in there. When you get a good test to get would be a CAC test, a coronary artery calcification test. You want that 0. Chances are yours is going to be high. And then you want to monitor that over time to make sure that hopefully it can come down. But even if it doesn't come down, what we want it to make sure it's stabilized. The whole thing is stabilized. So we don't have a problem in the future. So it's just probably a wake up call that you need to radically change things. And I think I at least gave you a start.
Indeed. Okay, Maria from Facebook. What would help eliminate restless leg syndrome? That's no fun, I hear.
Combination of B1, magnesium, especially both of those before bed. In fact, I would take 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before bed. And it's like 5 pills, but still take it. And then what will happen is if you also change your diet, you won't develop all this extra lactate or lactic acid. And you'll drift off into a wonderful sleep. And then your legs will be nice and relaxed over a period of time with the magnesium and also the B1, which actually keeps the oxygen up in the legs because the pH will be not so acid from the lactic acid anymore because you're not consuming all the carbs. I used to have restless leg syndrome. That was when I had a pint of Ben and Jerry's before bed every night before I go to sleep for I think at least 6 months to a year,
Ugh.
and it helped me sleep. But of course, I woke up feeling groggy, brain fog, and filled with fluid and water. But other than that, it was a wonderful temporary pleasure moment until it caught up with me.
Boy, you sure pay for that, don't you? Nalia from YouTube, this is sort of outside the box. Would applying lemon juice on our fingernails make them healthier?
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a significant factor of your health. I think there's a lot of other things you can do. Maybe drink the lemon juice and get some of the benefits from that. Um, but what problem are you trying to solve? Is it fungus on your fingernails? Is it something else? There's a lot of other remedies that could probably work stronger for that if you watch my videos.
All right, we hope you get over that. Okay, let's go to quiz question number 4, which asks, why do yeast or Candida infections occur after taking antibiotics? The audience has an answer. 100% of respondents say that the antibiotics disrupt or harms the gut biome, which can contribute to the growth of Candida and infections. They've been listening.
Steve, it's very, very similar to a jail. The Candida are the prisoners, and then you have the jail. What do you call those? The security officers are the bacteria, and they keep everything in check. And so when you get rid of the bacteria, because antibiotics only kill bacteria, not yeast or fungus or Candida, then you get an overgrowth of that Candida and yeast that travels up into the small intestine. So it would almost be equivalent to removing the border on a country and then allowing everyone to come back in. You could have a problem with that, Steve.
Yeah, I think you can. There's some precedent there. Angela Tay from YouTube. Which vitamins or exercises would you recommend for carpal tunnel syndrome to remedy that?
B6 is an important nutrient for carpal tunnel syndrome. Also, there's a great acupressure technique that works like a charm. And you should watch my video on carpal tunnel and just do it. It'll work. I've done it in a group setting. I'll have someone come up and I'll do it, and it works a high percentage of the time. But yeah, B6 is what you need to help with the carpal tunnel syndrome. And of course, there's other causes as well. But also, are you overusing the wrist in a certain way? Maybe you're a golfer or something like that. That's another thing that could be an issue, is like if you have like a unilateral sport, you're throwing something, or tennis, golf, boy, that can just really mess up your elbow and shoulder and knee and stuff. So you want to reverse it and really practice going the opposite way. Wish I would have known that, but oh well.
Okay, very good. Nick Tino from Rumble, are vitamin B blood tests accurate? Speaking of vitamin B, accurate and worth doing?
There's a certain way to test the B vitamins. I think you could test them through the white blood cell, but a regular blood test is not the best way to test some of these nutrients. So, and this is probably, that would be a good video to do, because you know, the blood does not give you good information of what's happening deep in the body. Why is that? Because your blood has one goal: to keep a constant, and so keep everything normalized. So it'll rob Peter to pay Paul. It'll rob calcium from the bone and put it in the blood. Yet you have, you know, bones that are kind of osteoporotic. So the blood is not always the best way to measure things. There's another test. It's called metabolomic. If you want more information, watch my video that I did with autoimmune recently. Talked to Dr. Dimitris on that. Fascinating test. But that would probably be the best test for nutrition.
All right, get ready, audience. Final question of the day. There it is.
Okay. Where does one get the greatest exposure to forever chemicals? Now, let me explain what forever chemicals are. There's a bunch of them, and unfortunately, they have a very, very long half-life, so they don't really break down. And so they're in our environment, unfortunately. They go in our bodies and they don't kind of come out that easily either. It takes like 8 years for it to come out. So this answer is going to be very important, because you need to just at least be aware of these forever chemicals that you're being exposed to, because they create a lot of problems like cancer and stuff like that. And unfortunately, certain organizations are not doing anything about it right now like they should. So there's a lot of people that are trying to get some agencies to do things and limit the amount of chemicals put in our environment. But this is an important question. See if you can guess it right.
Okay, let's see. John from Facebook, what would you suggest that works to eliminate toenail fungus? Maybe hold the lemon juice. What else?
Tea tree oil. That works good. Or even soaking your toenails in magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salts. That also works. Iodine will work as well. Also, high doses of, let's say you have toenail fungus that is deep inside the nail, right? And it's like yellow. If you took high doses of vitamin D3 over a period of time, it could correct it, because of what's happening or what's being supported. You're supporting the all parts of your immune system. And so you're getting your immune system to fight it off. And there's been several people that have done that with great success.
All right. This entity is calling themselves Global Nature Beats. And they would like to know what you recommend. Would you recommend a carnivore or keto diet for someone with Parkinson's? That's tough.
Yes, I would. I would. Totally. And I would also recommend they take high doses of not just B3, niacin, but B2 as well. Both of them. I'll have to do an upgraded video on this topic, because there is some really interesting, like, there's a drug called Deprinyl, and it's an anti Parkinson's drug, and it's also an anti-aging drug. And if you understand the mechanism of how it works, there are all sorts of natural things that also can kind of act like Deprinyl. And that's kind of the area that I like to dive into. And I probably should create a video on that. But yeah, there's a book out on Deprinyl and anti-aging. You should check it out if you have Parkinson's.
Wow.
To get some ideas.
Yeah, too many people have it, that's for sure. Abbott21 from Rumble. Would 50 milligrams of tocotrienols twice a day help reduce hair loss for women?
Possibly. What might work better for you is taking high doses of vitamin D3, because the little sac of where the hair root is living in, it's called the follicle, it has a lot of different receptors for vitamin D. And the vitamin D in high amounts, I'm talking up front, 50,000, I use it every day, actually act as a natural inhibitor for DHT, which is that powerful form of testosterone that burns out the hair. So from that angle, it can help. Also, it supports the normal genes of the cycle of a hair growth. I did a video on this, but I realized I didn't release it yet. So I'll have to look. It might be released this weekend. So, but vitamin D is what you want to take for that hair problem.
All right. Well, I'm so proud of our audience as usual, lightning fast on getting back with these quiz questions. And the last one for the day said, where does one get the greatest exposure to those horrible forever chemicals? 70% of respondents say it's plastic in and around our food supply. 15% say it's Teflon in particular and related products involved with cooking. And 15% say it's beauty products.
So you're correct. It's in all those things. But if we look at the greatest exposure that goes in our body, it's water. It's in the water. Now, if you have well water, you have to get it checked. I'm going to do a video on this because I'm going to be testing several waters to like city water and stuff. I know that's depressing, but on a positive note, there's a couple different filters that will filter out 100% of it. So that's good if you live in the city or if you live in the country or whatever. But you should put this on your radar because unfortunately, we've all been kind of tricked into thinking our water is all safe and things, but it's not. It's like they have these chemicals and it just goes in our body. And then now what? It accumulates. The solution that I'm going to recommend for this, and I'm just going to tell you right now, even before I finish the seminar or the video on it, is that we can get hyper paranoid of all these different chemicals and all that and try to avoid them as much as possible. But at the end of the day, if you can really support the mitochondria and your biochemistry with the right nutrition, you can build up these chemical changes to occur so your cells are so adaptive and so flexible they can override a lot of this toxicity. So, because what the toxicity does is it blocks biochemical pathways. So, okay, all right, then you take more glutamine, for example, or more NAC or more vitamin C or more zinc to push this mechanism through to make it work better. That's the way I look at it, because the other route of just doing detoxes or avoiding every single chemical and locking yourself in your closet is just not practical.
All right, very good. I have a just sort of everyday refrigerator. I forget who Frigidaire or whatever, and I just jammed a new $50 filter into it. Is there any sort of hope that might fix it, or does it have to be elaborate, or can you what do you do?
You can get like one of those what do you call those? Just the filter of water in your what is it called? It's called just some jug with a filter in it. There's certain not a Brita filter. There's other filters that you could use that do pull out the forever chemicals. And that's the one that you need. It's not the regular filters. So I am going to do a video on that because unfortunately, it's in the water supply and that's everywhere. So that is a problem. But again, there's a solution. So don't get too depressed on that one.
Okay, I think we can do one more question here. Alba from YouTube, would you please discuss natural solutions to improve our sleep? I'm on meds for sleep and I want to get rid of them. Thanks.
Well, one of the best ways to help yourself sleep is a video I'm going to release in 2 weeks. It's going to be entitled, I don't know the exact name of it, but it's going to relate the gut microbiome to your to depression. And in that video, I'm going to show you a great way to fortify using a certain microbe that you're turning into kind of like it's not yogurt. It's like you're making your own probiotic, very specifically to support the small intestine that will indirectly create amazing sleep. That's really what you need. I think that's what I would recommend out of everything. There's so many other things you can do, but stay tuned for that video because I'll give you a great solution and you'll sleep like a baby Of course, babies are up all night crying, but no, you'll sleep fine. But vitamin D before bed is good. Um, Magnesium in the evenings would be great. Magnesium glycinate, because the glycinate gives you glycine, which will also help your sleep because it increases GABA. It's going to help relax you. So I would take probably 5 magnesium glycinate tablets. And on that note, try that and let me know if it helps you. And have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We will see you next week, same time, same place.